Hello, and welcome to the Dons Trust 2024 election. Meet the candidates. My name is Gary Davis, and in this session, we are meeting with Adam Procter. Hello, Adam. So if you can start by please telling us about yourself and why we should vote for you.
Sure. Yeah, my name's Adam Procter. I've been a Wimbledon fan since the 80s, and obviously been a long-term season ticket holder since the AFC Wimbledon days. And why should we vote for me? Oh, I'm really passionate about what our club is in terms of a community asset and the kind of all the good stuff that the club does, and I really want to sort of double down on that. And so I want to help as we sort of move forward to get the club to really think about its vision in terms of being fan owned, a really important community asset, and how we hold on to that very tightly and use that as our unique sort of impact point. So allow that then to drive forward all the things we do much more than we currently are. I feel that there continues to be a bit of a tension between that and the demands of higher leagues and the kind of costs that they incur, and that there's a concern that we're going to hit a ceiling if we don't look to sell more shares and look to kind of move away from that model. I think that would really be damaging. So I'm kind of standing mainly to try and make sure that we kind of really pin that mast down as tight as possible as our unique, impact point, and use that in everything that we do.
Okay, thank you. So we now have 5 questions we are asking all candidates, and probably about 2 minutes to answer each. So question 1, with the accounts for 2024 due out shortly, and I think we were at net 1.5 million loss in 2023 that we reported out. What would be your strategy to plug the club's annual losses?
Okay, that's a good question. Now, I haven't seen the reports, obviously, because they're not out yet. And whenever I read them, I get very confused by them anyway, and ask someone to translate the accounting, because I'm not an accountant in any capacity. I just about manage my own personal finances, let alone massive finances. So it's a tricky question for me to answer, because I don't have I wouldn't want to get too involved, because I don't think I'm the right person in that sense to really give advice on how you kind of run financially a football club. And I'm not sure whether the Dons Trust board should even do that anyway, but we certainly should be giving a steer as to how they pitch and present themselves to try and increase revenue. And I think, again, that comes back to just really leaning on the fact that we're Wimbledon, and that we are unique and distinctive and different. And if we do that, we should be able to engage with new, different opportunities. I don't think we've taken full advantage of, because it's not been clear enough in my mind that we're doing that. So I think that would be then continuing to, everyone who comes to the stadium, who I've brought as friends and whatever, they are really impressed with the kind of spaces and the places that we have. And I think, again, it's looking at how do we upgrade and increase our day-to-day income, and so whether that's doing deals with interesting, like we've got with a pub, we've got a really great brewery. It's like, are there other opportunities where we could bring something in that's about another small community-led initiative that brings some different and dynamic moments, dynamism, I was trying to say. It's the end of the day. So I think it's, again, making it really clear that we've got a vision that stands us out as different, and so we can go after different sponsors, we can go after different partners, we can attract different people to want to spend money. I buy, when back in the day when I'd maybe have bought one top a season. Once we became fan owned, I'm buying as many tops as I can, because I love it, because I know that money's going to the right places, and everyone gets that. Even if they're not a Wimbledon fan, they know that money is going into supporting the club directly. So I think it's just looking at it. I know cost of living, etc., but it's probably just looking at initiatives. How do you get people to spend an extra £1 here or whatever? How do you get them to stick? How do you make the stadium? Here we talk about being a sticky place. So how, not the sticky floor of a pub, but how do you make sure that as many fans as possible are
2 minutes,
staying
Adam,
after the game? Thank you, Gary. I think I've said it. Yeah, let's increase our revenue by diversifying our USP and using that to our advantage.
Thank you, Adam.
I didn't think I was going to say much on that question.
Question 2. If you could change one thing about the Dons Trust, what would it be and why?
I think it would be improved transparency and communication. So figuring out looking at how we communicate, how the Don's Trust Board communicates with its various members, and how we can do that in a more open and transparent manner. So whether that be increasing the way the website functions, the way Pro Boards functions, or emails, or looking at the things that we do put out, whether that be in the local press or the match magazines. And I think just making that communication as clear as possible. What I've often, and I don't know whether that's about, I think we have a unified board, which is fantastic, but so I've found sometimes that I feel like I'm getting some different messages and I'm not sure whether it's clear where this is going to go, where that's going to go. So again, I think maybe in every decision that the Don's Trust Board makes going forward, they think about how do we make sure that this is clear, transparent, and are we using the best method of communicating? So yeah, for me, it's transparency, openness, and communication.
Thank you. Question 3. What is your stance on fan ownership, and how do we thrive as a club under the current fan ownership model?
Well, my stance is pretty hardcore, obviously. I think we have to be fan owned. I think that's what makes us unique, and I think that's everything that I love about the club. If we moved away from being fan owned, I don't think I'll be coming. To be fair, so for me, because I love coming on a Saturday, with my family and meeting my friends, I want to make sure that that continues because I want to be there, and I think that being fan owned is really hard with football currently in the way that it stands. But I think we need to consolidate. We need to think about how we increase revenue from that USP, and how we do things like lobbying for the football governance bill to be as useful as possible for every football club, but more useful for football clubs that run in a sustainable, open, ethical, diverse, manner as we do. We already do great things. We're just not very well rewarded for it. And that seems crazy when we're putting so much into the community, we're engaging and upbuilding our community through sport and through local action, all that kind of stuff. And yet it's not recognised by the way that money currently works within football. So I think we should be a beacon and a North Star for other clubs to say, we want to be like that club, because that's a really great way to run a football club more than just a business. So that's what I'm hoping we can kind of do with fan ownership.
Thank you. Question 4. How would you describe the Trust's current standing amongst members, and how would you seek to improve that relationship?
I think generally the Trust has a really good standing with most of its members, from what I can tell. I think there are some members, if you kind of, have to kind of dig around on some websites and things. And I'm not on Facebook and I'm not on X, so I don't see all of the noise necessarily around some of the disquiet that I think does happen. But I think it's a small number of fans who have found they've been disengaged by the Trust, that maybe they haven't been listened to by the Trust. And I don't think it doesn't matter how big or small your voice is, you need to feel that you can be heard. And I think that's obviously causing some unrest and whatever. So how would we go about fixing that? I think I've seen some things where they've often felt that the Trust has come across, or the board anyway, the Don's Trust Board has come across as quite defensive. And I do a lot of work, obviously, with students around sort of getting feedback and responding to feedback and closing those feedback loops. So I think it might be looking at how we manage feedback in some more engaging and more inclusive ways. And that might mean there are particular mechanisms that fans have to go through to provide that feedback. But I'd rather that than we start telling the board to start trawling lots of different websites and trying to find stuff. So I think maybe looking at a proper feedback loop mechanism that we can engage more members with might be a really useful method. I mean, again, you've got to engage those members, but I think if you did it in a way that's really easy and useful, and like I said, I've got quite a bit of experience of gathering feedback from students every semester, every year, that I know some little tricks and tips that kind of helps to engage the whole group. So yeah, I think it's get feedback. I think the board are doing a really good job generally, myself personally, but I think there are some people who are not particularly happy and maybe feel they are not being listened to, and that's probably the worst place to be. So I think we've got to work out how we can show that we're listening to the whole membership.
Thank you. and the last of the standard 5 questions we've got for all candidates. So do you believe that the trust board is elected to make decisions for the members or elected to listen to members on an ongoing basis? And would you be looking to consult members more or less?
More consultation is always good. I think the board is there to listen to its members, understanding that its members have put you on the board from your manifesto, which should contain things that you want to do straight away, and work on, so that you've got some things you can already do by being given that position through the manifesto. But then I think, it's working out how do we get that feedback mechanism where it could be that it's quite directed. So it's like, I want to give feedback to this Don's Trust board member through this mechanism so that I can help get them to see, to have a conversation and then use them as the voice piece. So I think the Don's Trust board should be a representation of all of the members. And because it's a board, there's a range of views, and it should hopefully fans will see themselves aligning with different board members, and maybe, I don't know because I'm not on the board yet necessarily, etc. That it might be we can set up a mechanism where people can feed back into the particular people they want to represent them, so they feel they get their voice again heard by the right person, to then bring it as loud as possible to board meetings to inform then the PLC meetings that would then be, etc. So hopefully that makes sense.
Thank you, Adam. So we're also asking each candidate one question directly related to their manifesto. Okay. So Adam, in your manifesto, you say, our fans extend beyond those who support the men's team on Saturday. Our fans include residents and supporters of other sports because we have a code that ensures we put community and people first. So the question is, this may not necessarily be a traditional view of what fans are. So can you please elaborate on this and maybe provide examples of how this takes the club forward?
Yeah, I think it extends to the fact that when people see something in the community or in the world doing good, you often will align with those things and think, wow, they're doing good stuff. And so as some examples, people who are fans of other football clubs who've come to Wimbledon, have experienced it and see the positivity and leave thinking, I wish my club was a bit more like that. And so they see a positive kind of angle. We've also seen, I know from some of the things that a lot of people involved in DLAG are not Wimbledon fans, but they are directly connected to the club. I had someone come and talk to me and said, oh, you're a Wimbledon fan. It was fantastic and they're not even a football fan. It was fantastic when you opened the stadium to be a COVID centre. And so I think it's those things where we can extend what we do to people who are not directly related to what happens on a Saturday by just being effectively a good citizen in the area. And you look at all the food trucks that are coming in. A lot of those people are not Wimbledon fans, but they come back because they have a good time, and they always seem to have a good chat. And we've last year on Same Old Wombles, we give out our little awards, and we gave one to the best food outlet, and they were really, they really liked it and enjoyed it. And I suspect they're saying good things about us when they go out into the world. And so I think if we can continue that, I'm positive that we could attract different types of sponsorship, different types of income, different types of businesses that want to come and work with us. But I think we have to then pin it down to this. We are a community club, and it all hinges on the fact that we are fan owned.
Thank you. So Adam, thank you for your time today and all the best with your campaign. Viewers can watch all the candidates' interviews on our YouTube channel. To vote, members should have the link in their inboxes, and the deadline for the vote is December the 3rd. You can find all candidate manifestos at thedonstrust.org. Thank you all for watching.